Unlike his siblings, Louis hasn't been able to play his first match at Wimbledon yet. Kate Middleton said in July 2023 that Louis was very upset that he couldn't go to the famous game with her family. It came as a bit of a surprise, and now people are wondering if it could be as shocking as when the Queen died 2 years ago. Some of the facts are very emotional, and we'll talk about them in more depth in this video. A lot of important events in Louis's life have already happened. I can't even begin to imagine what it would be like to be born into a royal family, where every moment is watched and praised, and every achievement is looked at and praised. This is how Prince Louis of Wales, the third child of Prince William and Princess Catherine, continues to live his life. He is still very small, but people from all over the world are already interested in him. The day Louis Arthur Charles was born, April 23, 2018, he made his public debut for the first time about 7 hours later. He was happily shown off to everyone around the world while being held by his mother, outside of the Lindo wing of St. Mary's Hospital. His first game was on St. George's Day, which is a holiday honoring England's patron saint. This quickly linked him to a long and honorable history of royal duty and patriotism. What percentage of babies who have just been born are photographed, honored, and written into the past of the country? You will probably agree that there are a lot of them, but that's not even the most interesting thing about it. Louis has had a temperament that is both playful and lively since he was a very little child. Because of this, he quickly got the reputation for being the little guy who steals the show at royal events. Who among us could forget how he reacted when Trooping the Color was played in 2022? When the Royal Air Force flew by, Louis put his hands over his ears to block out the loud noise. Even Queen Elizabeth II laughed out loud at how honest and innocent he was. It looked like she liked how her great-grandson honestly showed that he was uncomfortable. People have seen this lively side of Louis in other situations, like when he's being cheeky with his brothers, Prince George and Princess Charlotte, or when he's making funny faces at his mom. Every little thing Prince Louis does shows us a new and normal side of royalty. This is to remember us that childhood is all about happiness and innocence, no matter what the title is. The important royal customs that Louis stands for are important, but the morals that he is learning seem to be just as important. Once upon a time, Princess Catherine, who is a dedicated mother and a strong supporter of early childhood education, told her audience about how her parents taught her to be kind, respectful, and honest. After this, she and Prince William are going to make it a top concern to teach their children the same values. According to what she said, it is just as important as being good at math or sports. The way Louis was raised is a great example of how grounded the royal family is. It shows that they are really trying to raise a generation that is as caring as they are smart. Although Louis is still young, he has already done a lot of different things and had a lot of exciting experiences. He has done a lot of different things in a short amount of time, such as sailing off the coast of Norfolk, getting a signed tennis shoe from the famous Stan Smith, skiing in France, and even trying to shoot an archery target. There are many times when his mother has been seen playing rugby with the kids in their garden, which shows a surprisingly laid-back side of the royal family. You may be thinking if one of Britain's youngest royals will become a famous athlete someday. Of course, Louis has limits too. He is said to have been very upset in 2023 when he was turned down for permission to go to Wimbledon. To be more detailed, what did happen? Watching this video will help you learn more about this strange event. Members of the British royal family are used to the excitement that can be felt at Wimbledon when it comes to sports. There was one young prince who was obviously missing from all the cheering and exciting games this year, though: Prince Louis. His sadness was made worse by the fact that Prince William and Kate Middleton's 5-year-old son, who loves to play, was not at the party. When Princess Catherine told everyone about this on the last day of the event, she was at the venue with her husband and their 2 oldest children, Prince George, age 9, and Princess Charlotte, age 8. They were watching the men's singles final. It was an important day for both Princess Charlotte, who was playing at Wimbledon for the first time, and Prince George, who had played there before but was returning after missing the first year. Neither of them forgot that Louis wasn't there, even though they were both looking forward to going to the event. Kate, who is the sponsor of the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club, shared a touching story with Ella Atway, who runs the club's youth programs. According to PA News, she said that Louis was very, very upset that she wasn't there. On top of that, she said that George and Charlotte were both very excited to watch the games. What Kate said really moved the people in the room, and they couldn't help but think that little Louis was hoping he could join in the fun instead. As a fun side note, a 16-year-old ball boy named Joel told a funny story about how much Louis loved Wimbledon. The princess told Joel that Louis had even been training his serious stance so that he could look like the ball boy on the court, who always stands tall and straight. "He tries to practice the stance and how we stand at the back of the court next to the players," Joel said, painting a cute picture of Louis trying to get better at staying still and focusing on the job at hand. To the royal family, Wimbledon is more than just a tradition and a competition of the best tennis in the world. It is a very important event in their lives. The day after the finals, Queen Camilla enjoyed her 76th birthday. She was at Wimbledon earlier in the tournament and talked about her days as a ball girl. It was her birthday, so she was there. "I remember doing it 100 years ago at Queen's. It's pretty hard to get it right," she said. "The young ball boys and girls who watch over the court today loved it." "I do remember doing it in Queen's," she said. "Based on how things stand right now, it looks like Louis will have to wait a little longer before he can join his brothers in the royal box. He wasn't able to play this time because he was too young. After all, George's first match at Wimbledon was when he was only 8 years old, and Charlotte followed suit by going to the event at the same age this year. But there is no doubt that Louis will be just as excited about the prestigious game when he finally gets the chance to play in it as his older siblings were." But even though Louis wasn't at Wimbledon this time, he still found ways to be involved. While he was checking out a C-17 Globemaster III plane, cameras caught him responding very strongly to a number of loud planes. This happened during a recent royal trip. He talked about his famous moment from Trooping the Color the year before, when he put his hands over his ears to block out the loud noise. "The way he reacted made me think of that time. Unfortunately, Louis might not be able to go to Wimbledon for a few years. However, there are already strong signs that he will become a big fan of the royal tennis event. At least for now, he could keep practicing his stance at home, maybe thinking about the day he would be able to sit next to George. There will come a time when Louis can finally go to Wimbledon with Charlotte and the rest of his family. He will be just as excited as his brothers, if not even more passionate." There was, however, another royal event that turned out to be much more important, and this time it involved Prince George. In contrast to Louis' situation, this one was very dangerous to one's life. Let's look at what Prince George almost did. As shown by his recent flight, Prince George is following a royal custom that has been passed down from generation to generation. Royal kids have a life that is both safe and privileged, and Prince George showed that he is following this practice. On Monday, the future king, who was only 11 years old at the time, did something very important. He took his very first flight lesson at the White Waltham Airfield in Maidenhead, England. George flew with a teacher for an hour while his parents, Prince William and Kate Middleton, watched from the ground. Even though he was very young, he kept an incredibly cool and collected attitude during class. As a person, it's hard to imagine how nervous William and Kate must have been as they watched their son take off. Someone who was at the airport said that this moment had been building for a long time. He loved it. "It's the right time to start for George, who has dreamed of flying since he was a little kid," a witness said. This honoring of the family's aviation history isn't just a royal practice. It also has something to do with both William and Harry's jobs as pilots. Prince William recently said that George has shown a strong interest in flying, calling him a potential pilot in the making. However, this encounter made George think of another close call he had in the past, which could have turned out very badly. A ceremony called Trooping the Color is held every year to honor the birthday of the British ruler. George was on a balcony during the ceremony when he leaned too far forward and almost fell off the balcony. The people who follow the royal family held their breath for a short time as George was almost off the cliff. Luckily, his parents pulled him back right away, stopping what could have been a terrible fall. Even though it was shocking and scary, this was something that happened all the time. It has always been possible for royal children to be in danger, though in different ways each time. When Prince William was George's age, for example, he went through something very close to what George did. As a child, William will never forget the time he ran toward the open end of a balcony. His grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, stepped in just in time to pull him back to safety. Something about this scene will always stick with him. It looks like close relationships are a normal part of royal life. Each new group of young royals faces moments that show the delicate balance between duty and danger, privilege and vulnerability, even though they are very safe. Children of the royal family have often been put in dangerous situations that tested their strength, bravery, and flexibility. This shows that their lives, like everyone else's, can be full of unexpected risks. As an example, let's look at Prince Harry. He served in the military as an Apache helicopter co-pilot and gunner in Afghanistan. This is one of the best examples of a royal willingly putting himself in a risky situation. Harry's second tour of duty gave him the chance to fly an Apache, which is thought to be one of the most advanced and deadly war helicopters. He also took part in frontline activities in military zones. He flew over hostile airspace and did tasks that could have easily put his life in danger. So this job did come with its share of possibly dangerous situations. The risks he faced were the same for everyone, even though he was a part of the royal family. This showed how dedicated he was to his job and how ready he was to take on the duties that came with it, with the bravery that is expected of every fighter. George's great-grandfather, Prince Philip, showed that the royal family has a history with flying and the sense of excitement that comes with it. The prince began his flight training at White Waltham Airfield when he was 31 years old in 1952. This is the same airport where George learned to fly again not long ago. For a royal of his time, learning to fly was a big deal. It was another example of the royal family's long history of being brave and seeking excitement. Philip's decision to learn how to fly was a big one. Back then, flying was still very new and dangerous, and becoming a pilot was a very dangerous job. Even so, Prince Philip faced this problem head-on and finally made a name for himself as a skilled and licensed pilot. He knew how to fly helicopters, small planes, and even trips for good causes. Children and grandchildren of the royal family, like William and Harry, would show the same bravery and interest in the world that he did through his love of flying. There are many times when members of the royal family are asked to do things that could put their lives in danger. For example, Prince William was a search and rescue pilot in the Royal Air Force. There are other examples like Harry and Philip. William worked hard at this job for 3 years, flying helicopters in bad weather and trying to find his way through rough terrain to help people who were in immediate need. He later became a pilot for an air ambulance and often had to help people who were in critical situations. He had to deal with a lot of terrible things because of his job, which served to show everyone that being a king doesn't mean you're above human problems. On both sides of George's family, it looks like they have a past with flying. Royal Princess Kate's father, Michael Middleton, went to school to become a pilot, and her mother, Carol Middleton, used to work as a flight attendant. The fact that Prince William was in charge of search and rescue and air ambulances showed that he could stay calm under pressure and save lives. Given how important the tradition is, it shouldn't be a surprise that George feels compelled to fly. He is determined to carry on this beloved family custom. Trooping the Color is a yearly event where fans gather to watch the show from the royal balcony. For a long time, this has been where young royals can face the public. In spite of how beautiful they are, though, many people who watch the royal family are really worried about the younger members of the family. An almost primal fear takes over when we see a young royal so close to the edge. This is because it reminds us all of how human they are. The most recent flight lesson Prince George had is a great example of how he is not only growing up, but also bravely and determinedly embracing the tradition that his family has left behind. On the other hand, it's a warning that even people born into royal families can have heart-stopping moments and close calls in life. Even though George keeps going his own way, it's clear that his parents are doing a great job of getting him ready. They not only give him the freedom to take calculated risks, but they also make sure he has the support he needs to stay grounded, both physically and psychologically. After his father and uncle, Prince George is following in their paths and may even hope to become an aviator like them. This makes it clear that his adventure is just beginning, and that more exciting chapters are yet to come. As George gets older, people can't help but wonder when he will become king, and what might get in his way. The things that might affect Prince George's path to the throne are talked about in this piece, along with the traditions that he will take on as king. When Prince William becomes King William, he will likely no longer be called the Prince of Wales. That being said, George might not get this title right away. In the event that there is no one holding the title of Prince of Wales, the title formally ends. It will stay dormant until the current king decides to give it to his heir. This is a practice that has been kept alive for many years. This means that even if George is William's oldest son, it doesn't mean he will be given the rank right away. Unlike some other titles that are usually given, the title of Prince of Wales is given to a person by the king without any rules. It may not take future kings as little time to make announcements. For example, King Charles III didn't wait more than one day to say that William and Kate would become Prince and Princess of Wales after Queen Elizabeth II died. It's possible that King William will take his time making his choice if George is still a child when the title becomes open. It has been customary since the 1300s to give the title of Prince of Wales to the person who is most likely to become king or queen. That makes sense. Since George is William's oldest son, he would be able to become king when William became king. What about William and Kate? They have worked hard to keep their kids from feeling the pressure that comes with being royal. Their goal is for their kids to have as normal of a childhood as possible. The above could mean that William doesn't give George the title of Prince of Wales until he is sure that his son is ready to handle the duties that come with the job. Anyway, George is only 11 years old right now, and he might still be pretty young when William becomes king. Still, history shows that age isn't always a problem. Charles became Prince of Wales when he was only 10 years old, thanks to Queen Elizabeth II. Williams might decide to make George Prince of Wales because of this, even if George is still a teenager or younger. However, George will automatically become Duke of Cornwall as soon as his father becomes king, no matter when the title of Prince of Wales is created for him. Since their oldest son is the heir, this title is usually given to him without a ceremony. If George were to become Duke of Cornwall, he would get the Duchy of Cornwall, which is a huge land worth hundreds of millions of dollars and makes a lot of money. If George is younger than 18 years old, he might not have full control of the duchy right in the beginning. It's likely that someone will take care of it for him until he turns 18. This would make him one of the richest young people in England before he becomes a full member of the royal family. Even though it looks like George will be king in the future, there are a few things that could go wrong on his way to the throne. One of these is how long a person can expect to live. If George lived like Queen Elizabeth II, who ruled until she was 96 years old, he would not be able to take the throne until he is in his middle years or even older. When and for how long William's rule lasts will have a big impact on George's chances of becoming king. Another thing to think about is the idea of personal choice. The British government has always been about duty, but in recent years, members of the royal family, like Prince Harry, have chosen to put their own happiness ahead of following tradition. In the event that George is not ready or does not want to take on the huge responsibility of being king, custom would suggest that he should take on the role of king, even though it is very unlikely that he would do so. But things aren't set in stone. While George may get titles and responsibilities, it's possible that his siblings will have different paths in life. Princess Charlotte is the second child, so she has a chance to become the Princess Royal, a term only given to the monarch's oldest daughter. On the other hand, it has been said that William and Kate want Charlotte and Louis to focus on their own jobs instead of working for the royal family. This shows an example of a new rule that has been put in place in the royal family to give younger royals more freedom to build lives outside of work. The steps Prince George will take to become king will be affected by old traditions, the advice he gets from his parents, and how the kingdom is changing over time. Even though it may look like his path is set, life often throws shocks at him. Tradition will be a part of George's trip, but there is also the chance of a monarchy that is more modern and flexible. What do you think? How strict should the rules be for a royal person like Prince William's son? Was it right for him to let his son choose a job with such a high risk?